hello, and welcome to a brand spanking new episode of the Melanin Mayhem podcast, hosted by your favorite country girl, Renee Davis. Ooh, baby, if today is your first time making merry over here at the Mayhem Factory, welcome. The doors of the church are always open for you over here, baby. You are always welcome. Let me tell you what you have gotten yourself into today. You see, I bring you the stories of a prolific serial offending motherfucker every week on Wednesday. And baby, I'm talking melanated baddies that did some diabolical, I'm talking about heinous and downright negacious crimes and got away with the shit for a little minute. Ooh, baby, and I'm telling you, you may have heard some of these criminalistic all-stars whose stories that I spit on a weekly, but I can promise you this. Baby, you have not heard the story the way that I tell it, honey. If you don't believe me, you can ask my peoples. Because you see, I'm out here on a mission, honey. I am trying to dispel this pervasive myth in our society that there are certain types of crimes that black people just don't commit. Because, ooh, honey, that's cap all day and twice on Sundays, honey. Let me tell you, we have been doing it all since we got here. We continue to do it all, and we're going to continue to get away with doing it all if we don't stop believing this damn myth that there are certain types of crimes that black people don't commit. Okay? Now that we have properly welcomed our guests, New Nation, Feliz Navidad, my loves. What's up, peoples? It feels like it has been like 2 weeks since we last talked. Oh, what's going on, y'all? The countdown is like so here. We've got one more week until the big day. I hope y'all are through with all y'all planning and gathering and buying of the gifts and whatnot. I hope that everything is going well for you in your lives and that you are enjoying this holiday season. I can tell you, I am looking forward to 2026. Ooh, we got big things cooking, honey. What about y'all? What y'all looking forward to for 2026? I also want to say thank you for all of your words of encouragement. When I told y'all last week I had no clue about what to do with that last Wednesday in the month, y'all came through with some really good ideas. And I'm going to take a few of you up on your suggestions. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but you're going to get a rework of an old case, and you still probably might get some type of video type of situation. We still working out the details. I figure we just going to see what New Year's Eve brings for us, and whatever it brings, that's what we going to get. Amen. Okay, so let's see. Again, I'm so thankful for all of your suggestions. It was really, really refreshing to hear y'all say, "Girl, take some time off. You good? We good." I really appreciate it. I tell you, other than that, I don't have any church announcements really for us. We're about to wrap 2025 up. Stay tuned for what 2026 is going to bring us, because there will be changes. But other than that, we're just going to roll this thing out because we got to get back to the story of Samuel Little, who has been our December takeover subject matter, right? So we've met the monster and learned his origin story, right? We saw how he crisscrossed across the United States, getting locked up along the way, but never really serving a lot of time. We learned how and when he started killing. But what we did not get a chance to get into was to talk about the names of his victims. Because what we know is Samuel Little confessed to 93 murderations. That is a lot of women. Like 93, if you think about it, in a normal episode, even with our, up to this point, our most prolific serial killer, we're talking like, 13, 16 names or whatever. But 93, There is absolutely no way I could tell you a story as well as get their names in an hour. And I wanted to do it justice. So that's why this week, this episode is dedicated to the victims of Samuel Little. We call them his victims. He called them his angels. And I guess that is kind of accurate because it was his ass that gave them the wings that carried them on to glory. Baby, I cannot wrap my mind around this big ass number, 93. And at this point, when Samuel is giving these confessions, he's already been convicted. He is already serving life sentences for 3 women in LA. But now the doors of his soul are open and he is just letting it fly with this Texas Ranger about all of his victims. I mean, they are sitting down and they're having a conversation, if you will, over honey buns and potato chips about all of the women that Samuel has unalived. And so remember, the word on the curb for law enforcement, everybody knew that Samuel Little had a treasure trove. But if you have a lot of different law enforcement coming at it, I mean, who knows? You could be coming and wasting time, right? He didn't kill nobody from your jurisdiction. So rather than to keep having people coming in all willy-nilly, they kind of just funneled it through the information that he was giving this Texas Ranger. Well, he would talk, or he would give out details, and then the Texas Ranger would reach out to this particular jurisdiction like, hey, you might want to come run through. Well, you got some stuff in your backyard that maybe Samuel Little is responsible for. Let's call it a more streamlined process to interview a serial killer. In my mind, I just keep thinking, 93. Y'all know how I feel about when people name numbers. It's always a lie, right? If somebody tell you they ain't slept with but 2 or 3 people, add 3 or 4 more onto that, right? And so if he is saying that he has only killed 93, I don't believe it. If you've killed 93, maybe you've killed 193. Maybe you killed 1,093. Like, I just don't know. But what I do know is this man did not hold back. There was a reporter who asked him one time, how did it feel to kill? And this motherfucker replied, ooh, it felt like heaven. Felt like being in bed with Marilyn Monroe. First of all, sir, killing somebody should not feel like a sexual encounter. The two should not ever correlate. I mean, in most normal people's minds, that shit does not correlate at all. Nobody could understand how this man could be talking about these women almost lovingly with reverence, but he killed them, right? He talking about, Marilyn Monroe. This is what it feels like. It feels like being with a white woman. I don't know. But you cannot put a logical response on an illogical situation. It just doesn't work like that. All I know is this man was diabolical by every sense of the word, in every stretch of the imagination. And not only was he telling them about his kills, he started drawing them. We found that out in last week's episode as well. They gave him a sketch pad and some colored pencils, and this motherfucker went to town. Photographic memory. He's sitting there remembering, and then he starts sketching out the woman that he's talking about. And in so many cases, that's how law enforcement was able to close a lot of these cases. I told you about the website that they created where they put these sketches up and was like, hey, if you know these women, let us know. Here's what we think happened in their case, giving you, locations and dates when they approximately went missing, and they let the public do the rest. And so today, I'm just going to run through the list, and it is quite a list. Like, normally, I'd be shucking and jiving myself, you know what I'm saying? But I'm going to try to show as much reverence as I can because this is a lot. And it's heavy because in many cases, I ain't got no name. There is no name. Oh, okay. We'll talk more about this. Let's get into it because it's going to take me damn near an hour to get through this. So I'm doing it in chronological order as best as I can. All right. So on December 31st, 1970, we've got 33-year-old Mary Jo Brosley. She was killed in Homestead, Florida. From the Massachusetts area, moved down to Florida. Who knows? Snowbird activities. Who knows? But Mary Jo was a member in good standing of the Salt Gang. Met Samuel at a bar on New Year's Eve, and he killed her shortly thereafter, and her remains were found in January of 1971. Although Mary Jo would not be identified until decades later, which again is a common theme. Next up, in 1971, a 22-year-old woman named Linda in Miami, Florida. Now, Samuel says that he remembers strangling a woman named Linda and that she was a short, thin black woman who kind of put you in the mind of a girl. When you looked at her, she didn't look really like she was an adult. And according to Samuel, she was about 23 years old, about 5 feet nothing, and she lived in a hotel on North Miami Avenue. He killed her and he left her behind the hotel. He didn't try to hide her because where he left her, it was visible from the hotel windows. And the best that he could remember, the hotel was somewhere near a bus station on Biscayne Boulevard where he left her. But again, he's just sitting down over some honey buns talking about, oh yeah, I left her behind a hotel. Yeah, you could see her. Okay, I can't do this. I've got to get through this list. Okay, keep it together, Renee. Somewhere between 1971 and 72, an 18-year-old by the name of Mary Ann was killed in Miami, Florida. Now, Mary Ann was a black transgender woman that was killed in Northwest Miami. Mary Ann was 5'6" or 5'7", around 19 years old, and lived in the Liberty City section of Miami. Mary Ann had a boyfriend named Wes, and Sam met Mary Ann at a bar on 17th Avenue. They kicking it for a little while, and Sam offers her a ride home. She's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Sam actually drives her to her house. Mary Ann has roommates that she lives with, and they come in the house apparently, and Sam meets some of the roommates, and apparently they were out of shaving cream. You know, shaving your legs, whatever, you need some things to shave with. So they asked Sam and them to go run to the store and get a can of shaving cream. So Mary Ann and Sam go back to Samuel's car, and they're driving away, supposedly going to go get a can of shaving cream. Now, at the time, Sam had Pontiac Le Mans, and they're in the car and they're driving down, and Sam drives about 2 miles outside of the Miami city limits. I guess he told her they was finna go, hook up a little bit or whatever, and apparently Mary Ann was down. Well, he pulls off over into the Everglades, turns down a dirt road, down in the swamps, you know what I'm saying? And he drags Marian's body out of the car into some thick, muddy water. And he just leaves her there. He's killed her in his car, and he just leaves her body in the marsh. And who knows how long it took them to find her, or the pieces of her, because hey, in the Everglades we got a whole bunch of predators down there outside of the ones on 2 legs that will eat anything that is left. But moving on. Also between 71 and 72, because again, Sam is not always able to be specific as far as giving an exact date for when some shit went down, so he would give a range. This one, between 71 and 72, he killed a girl who was between 18 and 25 years old. He thinks her name was either Donna or Sarah, also in Kendall, Florida. Now, Donna or Sarah, whatever her name was, she was also of the Caucasic persuasion, maybe even spicy white. He couldn't remember if she was just straight up white or if she was spicy white, like a Cuban or something like that. But he killed her, again, somewhere between 71 and 72 in Kendall, Florida. Then in 72, there was a woman whose name he couldn't remember in Prince George's County, Maryland, that might have been from Massachusetts. He wasn't sure. She was also a member in good standing of the Flower Ranger crew. Then April 16th of 1973, there was 39-year-old Sarah Brown that he killed in New Orleans, Louisiana. November of 1973, he killed 34-year-old Agatha White Buffalo in Omaha, Nebraska. As you can tell by her name, she's a Native American. In 1974, he was in Savannah, Georgia, when he rolled up on a girl named Kat. He thinks she was between 22 and 23 years old, but 74 was the last time Kat took a breath. Continuing in 1974, we have a Jane Doe that was killed in Cincinnati, Ohio. Still in 1974, 51-year-old Leola Etta Bryant was murdered in Charleston, South Carolina. Still in 1974, December that year, New Year's Eve, December 31st, 1974, 34-year-old Martha Cunningham was killed in Knox County, Tennessee. They found her dead in a wooded area a couple of months later in 1975. Mid-70s, he wasn't quite sure. It was just sometime in the 70s. lady that was 23, 24 years old. He thinks her name was Emily. He killed her in Miami, Florida. He thinks that she worked at the University of Miami. In 1975, he killed an unknown woman in Knoxville, Tennessee. She was around 25 years old. If I don't call out the race, then please understand that these are black women that he has killed. If I don't speak of the race, then they are black women, okay? I just wanted to give that disclaimer. In 1976, he killed a woman named Miriam Anna Chapman in May of 1976 in Miami, Florida. Then he goes on to Illinois. Somewhere between 1976 and 1979, he kills a woman that he thinks that maybe her name was Jo. He met her in St. Louis, Missouri, and then he drove her to Granite City, Illinois, and killed her. In 1977, he's in Houston, Texas, and he kills a woman by the name of Leanne Helms. He murdered her in June of 1977 in Houston, Texas. On the move, in April of 1977, he was in East St. Louis, Illinois, and he killed a woman by the name of Marianne Jenkins. From East St. Louis, he goes down to Houston, and he kills a woman, 21-year-old Leanne Helms, in June of 1977. Again, she's in Houston, Texas. Now, in September of 1977, Samuel comes to my hometown of Macon, Georgia, where he kills 20-year-old Yvonne Pless. Now, she was known as the Macon Jane Doe for 46 years. From the time she was killed, for 46 years, nobody knew her name until in 2023, the Bibb County Sheriff's Department was able to do a 23andMe play. And damn if they weren't able to find a relative of Yvonne's and let them know that, hey, we have a murder victim that shares your DNA. Do you know somebody, blah, 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 that disappeared around September 1977? Oh, yeah, that was Yvonne. This is when Yvonne got her name. Yvonne was killed in September of 1977, and it would not be until 2023 that a name was given to this Jane Doe. But let me tell you something. What really got me about this particular story, when the Bibb County Sheriff's Department reached out to Yvonne's family, the relative that they reached out to, they said, well, shit, we didn't even know Yvonne was dead. Ooh, child. Yvonne been dead for 46 years, and her peoples was unaware. And I wonder if they were unbothered. Like, I would hope that if I disappeared for 46 goddamn years, somebody would miss my ass. I don't know. Shit happens. Again, when you're dealing with women on the margins, 46 years can go by and ain't nobody thought about them. Like, ooh, honey. But again, we got a long list to get through. Let's go. December of 1977, he left Georgia and went to Mississippi, and he killed 44-year-old Clara Birdlong in Pascagoula, Mississippi. He met her in Gulfport. They kicked it for a little while and then drove to Pascagoula where he killed her. He thinks that this Clara Birdlong woman possibly worked at a shipyard somewhere because, you know, he spent a little time with these people chopping it up before he killed them. So after he killed Clara, between 77 and 78, he killed an unnamed woman in Plant City, Florida. He met her in Clearwater, drove her to Plant City to drop her body off. Also, in between 1977 and 1978, another unknown female between 17 and 24 that he killed in Cleveland, Ohio. In January of 1978, he killed 36-year-old Julia Critchfield in Harrison County, Mississippi. He left Mississippi and in September of 1978 killed 19-year-old Evelyn Weston in Columbia, South Carolina. Further along in 1978, he killed a Jane Doe, 29 years old, in Charleston, South Carolina. Then, in November of 1978, he was in Plaquemines Parish in Louisiana, where he killed Carleen Jones in November of 1978. Then in August of 1979, 23-year-old Brenda Alexander, she got it in Phoenix City, Alabama. There was a Jane Doe in East St. Louis, Illinois, that also came up dead in 1979. Valeria Boyd, she was murdered in October of 1980 in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Still in Fort Wayne, he had time on his hands, I guess, in October, because he also killed Marianne Porter in October of 1980 in Fort Wayne. In 1981, he found himself in Smiths Grove, Kentucky, where he killed 23-year-old Linda Sue Boards in May of that year. In September of 1981, Patricia Parker was found dead in Dade County, Georgia. Now, I had to look it up because I when I think of Dade, I think of Miami. So I'm like, okay, if that's in Georgia, where is that? It is in the northwest corner of my great state. It borders Tennessee and Alabama. And in looking at it, it kind of looked like a vibe. I'm going to have to go check that out. It looks like a little glamping situation. It's got waterfalls and mountains. Not the point. Moving on, Renee, just move on. He stayed in Georgia for a little bit because also in 1981 there was a Jane Doe in Atlanta between 35 and 40 years old that he killed. In October of 1981, he was in Cincinnati, Ohio, where he killed Annie Lee Stewart. Then in July of 1982, 18-year-old Fredonia Smith, she was killed in my hometown city of Macon, Georgia. They found her body in Washington Park. Crazy, because I remember taking pictures in Washington Park when I was a little girl. Who knew Samuel Little had strung a bitch up over there? Like, what the fuck? Like, the things you don't know that happen in your city. In August of 1982, he killed 20-year-old Rosie Hill in Marion County, Florida. In September of 1982, 26-year-old Patricia Ann Mount was killed in Alachua County, Florida. And if you remember from past episode, they tried him for this murder, but the jury let him walk because they didn't feel like it was enough evidence to hold him. Until years later when the DNA was tested and he actually did do this shit. Like, what the fuck? But again, we're not here to relitigate old cases. Continuing in September of 1982, in Houma, Louisiana, he killed 56-year-old Dorothy Richard. In October of 1982, he dipped over back to Pascagoula, Mississippi, where he killed 22-year-old Melinda LaPree. Remember, in a previous episode, I talked about this murder because this was the one they also had him on because two prostitutes told them that, hey, the last person Melinda was seen with was a motherfucker that tried to take me out the game. But because they were prostitutes, nobody believed them. So they did not prosecute Samuel for Melinda's murder. But goddamn, here we go. Decades later, the DNA results come back, and guess what? He really did do that shit. And he also confessed to it because, again, all of these names in Jane Doe's, in the cases where there are no names, these were actual factual confessions out of Samuel Little's mouth. Okay, just want to, again, give that disclaimer. Continuing in 1982, there was a Jane Doe from Cleveland that was between 20 and 25 years old that lost her life at Samuel Little's hands. In the fall of 1982, there was an unnamed black female in New Orleans, Louisiana. She was about 5'8" or 5'9", and Sam describes her as a brown or honey-colored skin. He says that he met her at a nightclub and her younger sister was throwing a birthday party. They dancing and carrying on. I mean, he having a good time. He is living life. He is in this woman's face with her peoples and they are kicking it on the dance floor. They talking a little bit. And, Sam was like, you want to go for a ride? I got a Lincoln. Okay, let's go. And in the course of the night, this woman has told Samuel that she lived with her mom who was on the sick and shut-in list. And in some kind of way, she gave Sam the keys to her house. Maybe that was some chivalry type of shit. Let me open the door. But however, whatever, Sam gets her in his car. They're going to go take a ride. And that's the last time her family ever saw her again. Sam says that they drove down Highway 10 and turned off at the Little Woods neighborhood. And this was the only woman that did not die from manual strangulation. He drowned this woman in the bayou. Y'all remember I told you in the last episode that there was one woman that he said was too big for him to carry. So he just drowned her. And that's what he did. This is this woman, this unknown black female in New Orleans, Louisiana. I just want to know, how is she unknown? I mean, this story has a lot of detail to it. Somebody in New Orleans was having a birthday party in the fall of 1982, and their sister went off with a man and never was seen again. Like, that's very relatable. Surely somebody is still in the land of the living that remembers my sister went off, or they say auntie went off. Why is this woman still unnamed? Still in 1982, because he was in New Orleans, and why pass up? He also killed a white woman between 33 and 44 in New Orleans after he killed this other lady. In 1984, he is in California, San Bernardino to be exact, where there was an unnamed female between 18 and 23 years old that he says he killed. In 1984, he dips from California back to Florida, and there is a Jane Doe in Fort Myers that he says he killed. In August of 1984, Hannah Mae Bonner, she lost her life in Mobile, Alabama. Still in 1984, he's in West Memphis, Arkansas. He picks up a Jane Doe in Memphis, drives her to Arkansas. She's between 28, 29 years old, and he strangles her to death and dumps her body. Still in 1984, 23-year-old Augie Gortz, Salt Gang, Savannah, Georgia. Now, it had literally been 10 years since Sam killed somebody in Savannah, at least that he can remember. And now in 1984, Augie Gortz is his victim again in Savannah, 10 years after his last victim. Like, whew. But she wouldn't be his only, because earlier that year, in May of 1984, he killed a woman named Frances Campbell. Like, this man is diabolical, y'all, because I'm not even halfway through this list. Like, jeez. We just have to press through. I told you this was going to be one of those serious episodes. We just got to press through. Only way through it is through it. Willie Mae Bivens was murdered in 1984 in Tallahassee, Florida. Also in 1984, a Jane Doe who he thinks was a college student between 23 and 25 years old was murdered in Atlanta. In July of 1984, he killed Mary Jo Payton in Cleveland, Ohio. Also in 1984, he killed a Jane Doe in Tampa, Florida. Also in 1984, he describes this 25-year-old hippie woman. Of course, she's a member of the Pale Posse. Says she had dishwater blonde hair. She's about 5'7", 5'8". Said he met her in Columbus, Ohio, and she wanted Sam to drive her from Ohio to Miami. Sam was like, shit, I spent a lot of time in Miami. I don't mind taking you. And along the way, as they're driving, they stop in Cincinnati to do a little bit, and then they stop in Covington, Kentucky, because old girl seen a festival with live music and things. But the police was really not, shall we say, appreciative of a black man and a white woman in the car together, so they told them they needed to move on about their business. And so Sam kept driving instead of actually stopping in Covington for the festival. But he didn't drive far. He says that as he was driving down the highway, he saw a little cut-off road. And so he took that little cut-off road, and it went up a winding hill. This is a rural path. And he killed that woman in his car, opened the door, and pushed her ass out into some vegetation and kept it pushing. Like, that was his thing. If there was any type of overgrowth, any type of bayou type of situation, anywhere where he could roll somebody's body off into some tall grass, that was his shit. And you got to think, there's a lot of places like that that fit the bill. Like, I don't care how metropolitan a city may be, somewhere surrounding that metropolitan city is a more rural type of situation, 10, 15 miles in either direction that anybody can roll off into, right? Continuing on with his murder spree, there was an unnamed Hispanic female in her 40s that was either killed in 86 or 96. He couldn't know. It was one of them sixes. And he killed her in Phoenix, Arizona. In 1987, there was a woman that he called Granny. She was 50 years old in Los Angeles, California. But he did a lot of killing in 1987 in Los Angeles. Like, in addition to Granny, he's claiming at least 6 more women in 1987 in LA. In LA. And it's not like 87 just belonged to Los Angeles, because it didn't. He also was in Monroe, Louisiana, where he killed a 24-year-old Jane Doe. He goes back to LA. And in July of 87, he kills Carol Ann Alford. We know about her because she was one of the murders that he was indicted for, that he actually got a life sentence for. In May of 1988, he killed 38-year-old Linda Bennett in Owenton, Kentucky. In August of 1989, he's back in LA, where he kills Audrey Nelson Everett. Again, we know about her because he was convicted for her murder. He also killed Guadalupe Apodaca in September of 1989. He was convicted for her murder, but he wasn't done, because in July of 1990, he killed a woman by the name of Zena Marie Jones, July of 1990 in West Memphis, Arkansas. In June 11th of 1991, 45-year-old Elise Denise Duval was killed in Los Angeles, California. In August of 1991, Rose Evans was killed in Cleveland, Ohio. In September of 1991, 34-year-old Roberta Tanderit was killed in Akron, Ohio. Somewhere between 91, 92, he's back on the West Coast, and he's got a 22-year-old Jane Doe that he killed in LA that might have been from San Francisco. In December of 92, he killed 27-year-old Alice Denise Taylor in Gulfport, Mississippi. Alice wasn't the only one in Gulfport that caught it, because also in December of 1992, he killed 19-year-old Tracy Lynn Johnson in Gulfport as well. He's back on the West Coast, and between the end of 1992, beginning of 1993, 3 more Jane Does catch them hands in L.A. My God, like, I wrote this list out, like I literally hand wrote this list out, and it's just like, this is a lot, because I'm still not through. Somewhere he's traveling, and it's April 21st, 1994. A woman, 24-year-old woman by the name of Ruth in North Little Rock, Arkansas, is killed. Now, Sam say he remembers her as a heavyset black woman with a gap between her 2 front teeth. He figures her name was Ruth, or somewhere about there. He said Ruth was about 5'7", weighed about 170 pounds. And he met her at a crack house in North Little Rock. And there was a man there, that was supplying everybody with drugs. And Sam said that him and the woman, they spent a couple of days together doing crackhead shit. Like they was shoplifting together. And they got stopped for shoplifting, right? And there are records that bear out the fact that Samuel was actually arrested by the North Little Rock Police Department for shoplifting from a Kroger on April 20th, 1994. Now, according to Sam, when they arrested him, the woman, Ruth, she just sat in his car in the Kroger parking lot. And so the Kroger people was like, hey, we want her gone. And she was like, well, this ain't my car. I can't move it, so I'm going to just sit here till y'all let him out. Well, the store manager at that Kroger eventually called the police station and was like, hey, we don't even want to press charges. Just let his ass go so he can come get his car and get this goddamn woman out our parking lot. And according to Sam, he was released after about 3 hours or so he could again go get his car, which at the time was a 1978 yellow Cadillac Eldorado. So he gets out and he moves his car off of Kroger property, right? Now, this woman been sitting here waiting on you to get out. Like, I don't know if we would call that a down-ass bitch or just a bitch that was down. I don't know, but she's there. So he gets in the car. They drive off. When they go, he meets some of this woman's people. Apparently, there was a man named Bear. Whether Bear was an ex-boyfriend or the pimp, we don't know. But they hook up and whatever. And then he drives Ruth back to her house, wherever that may be. The very next day, he comes back and picks up Ruth, and now they're driving towards Bentonville, Arkansas. He pulls off on a dirt road by a cornfield. It's about 10 miles outside of Little Rock, and he strangles the fuck out of Ruth who he been kicking it with for the past week, right? Like, Ruth been down. Ruth waited on you. Ruth kept your car straight. You know, you didn't get your shit towed. And here you are about to kill Ruth. And you did. You killed Ruth. And he pulls over and puts Ruth's body on a pile of old corn stalks and branches and shit. You know, some farmer done harvested the crop, and this is the leftover trash remains, and all of it is just in a pile, and he just throws Ruth's body in the pile. Diabolical, y'all. Diabolical, and I'm still got names on this list. In 1993, there's another 40-year-old unknown black female in Las Vegas, Nevada. Sam said that she was thin and she was dark-skinned and she was about 40 years old, between 5'3", 5'5", you know, a little bite-sized, little something, 110, 120. He said that he met this woman on West Owens Avenue and she was out there, you know, a purveyor of the pussy, you know, doing what she do. But here's the kicker. This woman who was out here selling snatch on the side of West Owens Avenue, her son was there. And we talking, this is a adult. Her son is about 19, 20 years old. He out on the strip too. And this woman introduces Sam to her son. Hey man, how you doing? What's up, Shawty? You know, this is diabolical, y'all. He gets the woman in his car. They go to a motel room. Sam strangles her in the motel, takes her out the motel, throws her in the back of his yellow Cadillac Eldorado, and he says he jumps in the car and heads south towards Searchlight, Nevada. Now, this is still within Vegas city limits. He says that he saw a road, a cutoff, and it looked like the road was going to like a old-ass motel. And there was a bunch of brush on the side of this road that led to this hotel. He pulls over, opens his car, and just pushes this woman out, thinking that she's just going to be in some vegetation. But come to find out, the side of this road is actually a slope. So the woman is rolling to the bottom of like a canyon type of situation. And he says she just rolling until she hits the bottom of the hill, which is way down there. So chances are this woman was never, ever, ever found. Like, the way he described it, it sounds like there would be no reason for anything to be going on. So the elements and the animals probably took care of this particular woman. But my thing is why is she still unnamed? She had a son that Samuel met that day. And that night, Mama didn't come home or whatever. The next day, he didn't see Mama on the strip. The day after that, he didn't see Mama on the strip. The day after that, he didn't see Mama on the strip. At some point in time, you got to think, he ain't seen his mama. He goes to the police and reports that, hey, my mama is missing. But clearly, if he did, nobody put two and two together. If he did, it wouldn't matter because she is still unnamed black female prostitute in Las Vegas, Nevada. Oh, Jesus be a fence. So he leaves Nevada, and in May of 1993, he kills 19-year-old Ruby Dean Lane in Perry, Florida. In August of 1993, he finds himself in Lubbock, Texas, where he murders Bobby Ann Fields Wilson. Still in Texas, January of 1994, he murders a woman by the name of Denise Christie Brothers. Now, Sam says that he lured her into his car and that he strangled her and dumped her into a field. It wouldn't be until 1995 that her remains was found. Now, what Sam says went down was he had bought a whole bunch of crack and black tar heroin for Denise to smoke up and shoot up with her pimp. Okay, they all getting geeked up together, whatever. And so after all of the dope has been smoked and injected, Sam is like, well, so yeah, where y'all five on this? You know, you gonna put in on this what you just got through geeking up with? And so the pimp was like, shit, I tell you what, Denise goddamn break you off. You just gonna get that shit in trade. And he leaves Sam with Denise to do a little something strange for this goddamn dope that they just smoked up, right? So Sam says that he pulls into an alley and Denise is about to give him a blowjob. Instead, he grabs her by her throat and just throws her in the back back seat. And then he just strangles her with one hand and he is masturbating with the other hand. And Denise is fighting, like she is fighting, trying to get him off of her. But all this is doing is turning Sam on, because for him, killing by manual strangulation is synonymous with sex. And so he talks about how he made this encounter last as long as possible. He would squeeze Denise's neck until she passed out, and then he would let go. And then she'd come back to, and he's stroking her on her neck, and then he choke her out some more. And this process went on a couple of times until the last time Denise came to, he says her head was in his lap and her eyes were big as marbles. And she was just like, why? And he was like, I own you. You are mine forever. And she just crying and, trying to get him to stop. And then he just squeezes the life out this woman. Y'all, that's diabolical as fuck. Like, if a killation must happen, go on, do that shit. Don't be with this, I'm gonna kill you a little bit and stop. Kill you a little bit and stop. That's fucking diabolical. Just get on with the getting on if we gonna get on with some shit. Like, oh, and again, Renee, why are you so upset? Because this happened so many decades ago. There is literally nothing you can do about it. This man ain't even here with us no more to even cuss his ugly ass out. But I got to do what I got to do. I got this list. I still got to get through with y'all. So pressing on. We're in 94. I got another decade to get through. So here we go. In February of 1994, 26-year-old Jolanda, I'm assuming we're going to pronounce the J, it's Jolanda. So Jolanda Jones was killed in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. In April of 1994, Gwendolyn Simmons was killed in North Little Rock, Arkansas. Now, the next thing I have is in January of 1996, when 29-year-old Melissa Thompson in Opelousas, Louisiana, she lost her life. Now, Melissa took care of her mama. One day she went out for groceries and she ain't never come back. Sam said, yeah, he snatched her up, choked her out, and left her up under a church canopy and kept it pushing. Like, we know now. In February of 1996, the following month, 40-year-old Daisy McGuire in Houma, Louisiana, caught them hands. Later on, 1996, a 24-year-old woman by the name of T-Money. We don't know what T-Money's real name is, but her nickname was T-Money. And T-Money caught them hands in Los Angeles. There was another woman named Sheila, also in 1996, between 23 and 25. She caught them hands, still in L.A. L.A., 96, he was just going ham. He was giving it. There was even a 25-year-old unnamed white female in Los Angeles, California that caught it during this time as well. Moving to 1997, 36-year-old Priscilla Baxter Jones was killed in West Memphis, Arkansas. And then we've got a huge jump from 1997 to August of 2005, when 46-year-old Nancy Carol Stevens was killed in Tupelo, Mississippi. Now, as you can see, we crisscrossed all over the United States. Just off the top of my head, there's like 13 that were from Florida, about 17 that were from California, 8 from Louisiana, about 6 from Georgia, 6 from Mississippi. I mean, he was killing in numbers. And each one of these women were a chapter in Samuel Little's murderous story across the decades, but they all had the same ending. We talking different cities, different women, all meeting the same fate. I'm gonna post this picture that I did a screen grab of a map of the United States. I'm gonna put it on the social media sites. As I was going through this, all of these states, it was like, that's like a path. He killed what could be considered a specific route. Like if you Google driving from Florida to California, you basically see Sam's hunting ground. Like the driving route goes Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arizona, California. And I mean, as you coming through Mississippi, I mean, Arkansas is like right there for a pit stop. Tennessee is right there if you dipping through Georgia. All of these are neighboring states like South Carolina, Alabama. All of these are neighboring states, right? If you're in Georgia. I mean, he really just bounced around within the southern half of the United States for a large majority of his kills. But here's the thing. We know that Samuel Little did not contain himself to the South. Y'all remember when we met him, he was fucking it up in Ohio and Nebraska. So you can't tell me that there aren't more victims out there, because from this little list that we got, we see that this motherfucker killed women as his full-time job. He clocked in regularly. He was never late for work. There are 52 weeks in a year. And I'm sorry, y'all can't tell me that this motherfucker wasn't laying them out like that. If not a daily basis, a weekly basis. I mean, and everywhere he went, he deaded somebody. Samuel Little was a rolling stone, and everywhere that he laid his hat, he sent a bitch or two home, like regularly. It just, when I was compiling this list, I gotta tell you, my first thought was that, ooh, behind every confession, there's a family that this is reopening a wound. This is killing these people all over again. But now that I've had a moment to kind of sit with this list and go over it and color code it and all of that, I don't really think that that's the case anymore. These women were on the margins of society. Nobody was looking for them in most of these cases. Not all of them, but in a lot of them, the victims of Samuel Little's felonious neck squeeze of death, I think in a lot of these cases, their families had written them off. Do y'all remember I read the statement from Yvonne Pless's family? They hadn't seen her since 1977. And in 2023, her family talking about they didn't even know she was gone. They had written her off because people on the margins eventually are regulated to the background of everybody's mind in one way, shape, form, or fashion. And it's not always intentional. I don't believe that it was intentional, but over time, life's. I mean, and if nothing else, life keeps on keeping on. The people died in many cases that were the closest person to the victim that nobody remembers. I mean, because think about it. If nothing else, all of these women were somebody's daughter. Full stop. They were birthed by somebody. They got parents, mother, father. They somebody's daughter, right? Maybe they were an only child. So when Mama and them passed, so did their memory. Or maybe there were siblings, but maybe they were estranged. And y'all know absence makes the mind forget a motherfucker. Completely and totally. Maybe, just maybe, Sam we can't look at it through today's 2025 lens. Sam was killing in the days before social media. I mean, if you look at it through today's lens of 2025, we can go no contact on a motherfucker, but we can still see and be a part of their lives peripherally, right? You see them on the things that they post on social media, and you kind of keep up with the fact that if nothing else, these motherfuckers are still alive, right? But we're talking the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. If you didn't see a motherfucker with your own eyes or pick up the telephone and have a conversation, you really could not know anything that was going on with your people. These women, maybe, just maybe, some of them, not all of them, but maybe some of them were the free spirit type, here today and gone as the feeling hits them. But all I can say is there is something to be said about a free spirit. You can fuck around and become a spirit for free. I'm just saying, keep in contact with your people. Drop a pin. Let somebody know that you are still alive and kicking, honey, because you can be forgotten and you can end up a Jane Doe. And I just think that is sad ain't the word. It's really not the word. Sad is not strong enough to convey how someone can be born and die and nobody knows their name. I don't know what the word is. Y'all help me out on what that word is, y'all. I'm looking for a word because sad to me just doesn't convey. That's just, I don't know. It's terrible. It's trifling. It's It's the human way in a lot of cases, because some of these women had long stopped existing in anybody's mind. In other cases, they were missed by a family that had to bury an empty casket because they weren't willing to let go and not try to process a death, even if they didn't have a body. But, through it all, we know about these women who have names, those who don't have names, because here came this old ass man, cackling, shucking and jiving, sitting at a goddamn table over honey buns, potato chips, and soda. Talking about, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that shit. Not a hint of remorse. Just proud as a peacock, y'all. I did that. That was some of my best work. If that ain't diabolical and negacious as fuck, I will pay you. Samuel Little confessed to 93 murders. About 67, 69 of those murders have been confirmed as actual factual kills. And even though they were confirmed, that doesn't mean that they all got a name, because as you can see, we still had a whole lot of unnamed females in our list, right? In the police reports, they were listed as Jane Doe, unknown female, or my favorite, deceased prostitute. Girl, stop. Treated as if they weren't even worth the time or effort to put a name with a body. I'm going to tell you, Sam stole their lives, but society stole their dignity. I mean, just turning them into a nameless statistic. Thankfully, it's a horrible thought. It is. I can't even hold it back. But Samuel drew portraits of these women. Lipstick, earrings, hairstyles, all of that shit. He drew it. And that was how he remembered his angels. His sketchbook was basically a trophy case. Those drawings for him were a bridge between his lonely life in a cell and the lives he took way back when. The FBI put those sketches up and people started recognizing their people. That's my sister. That look like my mama. That's my auntie. Mama, don't that look like? And so that's how the FBI was able to give some of these names that we do have, able to match them up to the Jane Doe that we did have. Now, I don't care. It just breaks my heart that so many of his victims don't have names, and realistically, they probably never will. And I just keep wrestling with the fact that there are so many more that we probably will never, ever, ever know about, because there is evidence sitting on a shelf somewhere, never tested, never thought about. And Samuel Little, in a way, knew this shit. He hunted these women because he knew the world wasn't going to come looking for him. And that's the cruelty behind the method to his madness. He didn't just kill these women. He picked them out specifically because he knew wasn't nobody going to give a fuck. All I can say is, I still take my hat off to the Texas Ranger who conducted these interviews, as well as the law enforcement professionals who came to verify, cold cases of their own. They had to sit and listen to this man crow about his kill and keep it together. Hats off, because I would have put hands on this motherfucker. It ain't even my people, but you was a trifling, diabolical motherfucker. I don't know. But let's talk about it on social media. Y'all know how to get at me. I am the Melanin Mayhem Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And over on X, I am Melanin Mayhem PC. If email is more your ministry, you can hit me up at melaninmayhempodcast@gmail.com. So, I got to tell y'all, the discussion group, y'all are showing out over there. We, as of today, have 980 members of the Melanin Mayhem Podcast discussion group. Ooh, we definitely gonna break 1,000 before the end of the year, baby. Thank y'all so much. Y'all are so down with me, and I am so damn down with you. Now, this week's New Ordination shout out goes to Mrs. Momo, who left a review on Apple. The review is entitled, Love It Here. Okay, I'm an Apple Podcast girly. However, you said we need to get you monetized on Spotify, so I downloaded and I'm currently listening to the Pretty Ricky episode. When I say I then burst out laughing several times, ooh, honey, no true crime podcast has ever had me laughing like this. Your laugh is contagious and your storytelling is top tier. You gotta listen up forever here, country girl. I would leave a review on Spotify, but I haven't figured it out yet. But I just had to leave a review about this podcast. Oh, Mrs. Momo, thank you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate both the review as well as the listen on Apple and Spotify. Y'all have been showing out. I can definitely tell that a lot of you have done just like Mrs. Momo and have downloaded Spotify and are letting the episode play on Spotify as well because the numbers are inching up. Thank you. Y'all can't see me, but I got a heart. I'm making a heart with my hand because the love is real. So appreciate y'all. We're going to get to monetization. What's for you is for you. And I know God done already told me what's for me, so we got this. I just appreciate, I don't care where you're listening from. I appreciate the listens. I appreciate the share. I appreciate it all because you all are showing out for the country girl. Now, that being said, y'all know I got to get up out of here. It's time for me to, one, get ready for work, and then tonight I'll come in and edit this podcast up a little bit because thankfully I don't have to take out the breathing sounds because y'all was like, country girl, let it ride. So we gonna let it ride. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Now, I will be back next week with the final installment in the Samuel Little episode series. We're going to wrap this thing up with a nice little bow. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the prolificness of this man and a couple of more stats that I found about him. But like I said, next week is the last episode of the Samuel Little episodes. So, if you haven't already listened to them all, go back, listen so you can be caught up. Either way, I appreciate you for listening today. I'm about to get out of here because, I got to do some things in the kitchen to get this thing ready for you. So, before I go, I like to close the doors of the church by making sure that I need you to be safe and, stay ever vigilant. And, baby, above all else, remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. New World Nation is one love, and the country girl is out of here. Mwah!
Ooh-wee, Nana, you did that.